Hey, my name is Sarah Dorr, and I'm currently in the Family Nurse Practitioner program at Eastern, and I chose to do my integrative review presentation on childhood obesity. Childhood obesity is measured by the BMI, or the body mass index. If a child falls above the 95th percentile, then they are considered obese. If they fall in between that 85 to 95 percentile, they're considered at risk for becoming obese in the near future. Obesity can be caused by a multitude of different things, such as food choices, sedentary lifestyle, not being quite as active, and also it can be genetic. So if the parentals are obese, the children tend to have the same habits and food intakes that they do, which could also lead to obesity. Some of the consequences that obesity can have then and later in life are type 2 diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, early puberty, and asthma, just to name a few. There is a lot of evidence to back this up. From 2005 to 2008, 10.4% of children ages 2 to 5 were considered obese, and 17.4% of children ages 6 to 11 were considered obese. 1 in 5 children are considered overweight currently, which leads to approximately 9 million children over the age of 6 considered obese currently. And all those statistics came from the Office of Disease Control and Health Promotion. It's also interesting to look at where exactly these obesity rates fall. So it's seen that African Americans, Hispanics, and American Indians have the highest rate of obesity in children, with 24% of African Americans and Hispanics above the 95th percentile in weight. So for this integrative review, I looked at 2 research studies in particular that looked at nutrition education and how that helped obesity rates in children. So this first study I looked at was called Promoting Healthy Weight in Primary School Children Through Physical Activity and Nutrition Education. This was a randomized control study that took place. They picked 12 schools, and they allowed everybody in grade 6 to participate. All that was required was that they had a parental permission form signed. The intervention that they picked for the intervention group was called the Change Curriculum. This was 20 weeks of weekly lesson plans that included focusing on a healthy lifestyle, including nutrition lessons. To measure their outcomes, they looked at body size, sedentary time, and food intake. At the end of the study, they saw that the intervention group that got these lessons had a significant difference in their BMI and also their waist size compared to the control group. The second study I looked at was called Colido, a board game for nutrition education of children and adolescents at school. This was also a randomized control study to look at healthy lifestyles. They had 20 schools in theirs. They had 12 middle schools and 8 high schools. And they were also randomly placed in intervention and control groups. The intervention in this study was a game called Colido that the children would play once a week for 15 to 30 minutes for 20 weeks. This Colido game that they made was a game that taught about nutrition and energy expenditure. Students were measured with the adolescent food habits checklist, their Turcomi dietary questions, and also they looked at their BMI to analyze the results. So 6 months after the 20 weeks of the Colido game, they looked at what their results were, and they found that the intervention group that played the game had an improved nutritional status and an improved BMI, with obesity rates going from 14% to 9%. I thought these research studies were great, and advanced practice nurses could take these results and put them in their own practice. They could improve tactics to prevent and control childhood obesity with this research. I thought this research was interesting because it came up with fun and more creative ways to implement nutrition lessons so that kids can take them away and actually enjoy them and actually learn something and want to make the change. And I believe advanced practice nurses are huge in this role, and they can also promote the same research and guidelines that this research came up with. The intervention that I thought would be great from this research is that bringing nutrition games like Toledo into waiting rooms of doctors' offices or other healthcare environments where the children are having to wait for a little bit, instead of having the TVs or the magazines for them to look through, having something that they can learn from and get something out of would be awesome, and that they could really get something out of. The Fairclough and Viggiano research and methods really worked in preventing childhood obesity and helping bring those rates down. So I think pediatric waiting rooms would be a perfect setting for advanced practice nurses to start with these methods, and especially family nurse practitioners, because they usually work in clinic settings, so they could really implement this research well. So that is all I have for my integrative review presentation. I hope you all learned something from it, and that is all I have. Thank you.